Hello, here we are back again for the 7th section of our QNX awareness training videos, and actually this probably is the most important and most interesting session, because this will be about how to debug processes with TRACE32. Well, I already started QNX and the debugger, as you can see, and now we can start processes, for example the uname process, and I can start other processes as well, of course. And there is a process called sieve_g, which is a demo process built by myself. The _g, of course, is the debug build of this process, so to have simple information for the debugger. But I don't want to start it right now. If I would start it right now, of course the main entry point will be called and this application will run. What I want to do right now is to debug this process right from the main entry point on. And how do we do that? In the QNX menu we choose QNX, process debugging, debug process on main. I get a small dialog asking me for the process name, and I'll tell the process name, which is sieve_g, and then there is a small checkbox, send command to term window. And now if you are running the terminal window within TRACE32, which we are doing right now, then you can click on that and the dialog will automatically start the process within the terminal window by sending the sieve_g to the terminal window. And now if I click OK, I get some warnings, and the debugger actually asks me for the symbol file of sieve_g. I'm searching for it, and that's one. So here it is. Double click on it, and here we are. Now the debugger set a breakpoint into the kernel when an application is called or when a process is called, and it checks then if the process that is started is the one that you want to debug, and if so, then it automatically loads the symbols of this process and sets a breakpoint onto the main function. And this was done, and of course then we halted the main function, and here we are at main of our process sieve. So we can switch the mode. So with that we have HLL mode, and you can see that we are now right inside our process, and we can do some single steps. For example, step over the initialization here. We can look into our variables, for example messages, and window. Let's change the format of messages, for example to show the pointer as strings, and you can see what's inside this variable, of course exactly what we wrote into that variable. We can step into functions, of course, step out of functions, step over functions, just the normal debugging as you are used to debug. Then we can set breakpoints, of course, for example here. This is the while one loop, so this is the endless loop of the process. If you do a go, of course, we run into the breakpoint, and we can go, and of course we will always run onto the breakpoint. Let's remove it again, and if we open the display processes window, you can see that we have a sieve_g a sieve_g process here that we started. Double click on it, and you can see that we have started 3 threads. And if you look onto the source code, you can see that we created a thread here, we created a thread here, and of course we have the main thread, so we have 3 threads running. So close that again. Let's start it, and let's kill it, so to restart it. Okay, we use the menu for starting the application, but we can also use a small script which is part of the QNX awareness. Especially using the script of course allows to automate all that stuff, so that you don't have to use the menu and can write scripts that automatically then start the applications. And the script is called app debug within our demo directory, demo kernel QNX app debug.cmm. You add the name of the process, and there you go. And then this one now waits for the CFG to be started. I'll do that manually, sorry for that one. cf_g, and it actually does the same as the menu. You can see that we again halted at the main entry point. Okay, you can now start, of course, debugging as usual as we did previously. We let it start again and kill it again. Okay, now there is a third method how to debug processes, especially on the main entry point, and this is QNX process debugging watch processes, and we add a process to watch, which is cf_g. Now what's the difference to the other two methods? The first two methods that I showed you is actually how to debug a process on main one time. So this is what you will probably usually do. Now if you have an application, a small application or process that exits quite often and you restart it over and over again, then you can use the watch system, and the watch system then checks automatically the restarting of a process, and if it is restarted it automatically reloads the symbols to the correct addresses and resets the breakpoints onto the main entry point. So this is for restarting processes the best idea to use then. You can watch up to 10 processes, so if you have several processes that you want to focus to debug, then you can add more than one process here. So let's see how that works. Let's move it down there and restart CFG again, and you can see that we halted at the main entry point. Let's switch the mode, that you can see that probably the space ID changes. Then we do some steps, so you can start debugging, go over again, CFG started, we kill it again, do something else, for example, and start again CFG. It starts over again, and as you saw, it reloads the symbols and we are back at main. We can restart debugging and go, and so on. Start it over again and restart it again. So the watch system automatically takes care of reloading processes. But be aware that the watch system sets a breakpoint onto the kernel routine that actually loads the process and starts the process. So anytime you start a process, you will have a small break and go within the debugger, which may impact the runtime of your target. Now what about if a process is already running? So maybe you want to attach to an already running process. Of course this is possible as well. Let's start CFG again, and CFG is running. Now how to attach to that process? First we halt the target, we halt it somewhere in the kernel. Let's switch the mode. We are currently somewhere in the kernel, so don't care about where we are. At least we are not in our process. Let's check. We have a CFG, so CFG is actually running. Now how to attach to that process? First we need the process symbols. Right click onto the magic entry and say load process symbols. And that's it. The symbols are loaded. You can see the message line symbols of CFG loaded. Now let's see if we really have the symbols. Let's browse the functions. Let's go up to the